Welcome to Mobile Armor Radio, the podcast for all things Mecha.
And welcome to a special edition of Mobile Armor Radio. My name's Rob.
I'm Brian.
And I'm Chopper.
This one we're going to do a quick overview, something a little different than normal. We got a special press kit from our Telesaurian Games for Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk Red. The core book's coming out today, as you hear this. If you're listening on the first day this comes out. And we're doing a little preview of it. Something a little different. We might do more of these if other things come up. We like it. And they were nice enough to send it to us, so we thought, hey, let's do a little overview.
Yeah.
Why not, right?
It's like a podcast unboxing.
That's right.
Or a book.
A book unboxing. An unbooking. Does that work? So Cyberpunk, if anybody's not familiar with Cyberpunk, the original game came out in 1988. It was like right on the cusp of the Cyberpunk being a thing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was right at the beginning, and the guy who wrote it was Mike Pondsmith, and he pretty much popularized Cyberpunk, not just role-playing, but also in general. Like, it was one of the first things that had the big Cyberpunk expansion going on. So after that, there was Cyberpunk 2020, then there's version 3, and this is version 4, called Cyberpunk Red. And it's all the versions take place within the same timeline. It just progresses the timeline. So obviously the first one was, I think in 2000, something like that. 2020 was obviously in 2020. And this one takes place in about 2045. And then the new video game coming out is 2077. So it's all in the same timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole thing about Red is, why it's called Red, is because obviously Cyberpunk is all about the corporations being in control and pretty much running things and being jerks. And there was a big war, the Fourth Corp War, between two of the biggest corporations, that the military weapon corporations. Arasaka, who are Japanese, and Militech went to war. Pretty much ended up being a world war. And other than nukes and also aerial bombardment from space with giant rocks being thrown places, it pretty much screwed up the whole world and kind of reset the groundwork for the game. And so now after that, the corporations kind of got their asses kicked. So the government's kind of took a little bit of control back. So it kind of evened the playing ground. They're not the be-all end-all anymore, the corporations. But it's called Red, Time of Red, because all that aerial bombardment knocked a bunch of dust into the air. So it's pretty much the sky is always red, got a red tinge. I guess people in California know what that's like, because lately it's
right.
Unfortunately been a bit too true. But yeah, so it's that kind of...
A lot of this book is a little too true.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so you're playing these runners. That, like, he invented a lot of these terms, like net running and stuff like that. It's all invented from this video game. And he even says that when he made the first game, he never even read Neuromancer yet. It was based more on Blade Runner and another book called, what was the other book called? What's, Blue.
By Neil Stephenson?
No, that was later. That was much later.
Which came first then, in this, I guess, in the RPG versions? Did Shadowrun come first, or did Cyberpunk come first?
No, Shadowrun was much after Cyberpunk. Okay. All the Shadowrun stuff was based on Cyberpunk. I'm telling you, this is like early on, like this stuff. Yeah. And other than that, I guess we can get into all the different types of people you can play, and I think the main kind of gameplay, not necessarily the only one, it's really heists. And you're playing a bunch of runners trying to go steal stuff or protect somebody, or classic RPG kind of stuff. Video game RPG kind of stuff.
Yes.
And, that's another thing with the new, Cyberpunk Red also. It's, the net has been corrupted. There's like black ice, which are like these sentient kind of, programs running around all through the net. So there is no internet. There's only local nets, which makes it so that the net runners in the game mechanics have to go on missions. They can't just sit back at home and do their stuff. They have to be with you.
So you're sitting on the couch.
Yeah. You can't just hack from your couch, yeah. So that's a major thing that I think they changed from 2020 even, that now the net runners have to be there so you can it's a little more exciting for them too, I guess.
If you're playing them, it's good canon to actually give them a reason to actually get out.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, and also, once again, the internet is a bane to many a role-playing game because it's too easy to find information. So the moment you get rid of the internet and you find a logical reason why it's gotten rid of, I think it helps a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, Brian, you read up on some of the basic mechanics. Do you want to go into how the game plays?
Sure. It's there's a lot of similarities you can draw from other tabletop RPGs that are out there right now. D&D is obviously the quintessential one. So in a similar fashion, like on a player's turn, you have like a move and then an action. And an action, they've got a nice long list of categories, which could be, making an attack, getting in a vehicle, standing up, grabbing something, holding an action, running, all sorts of stuff like that. And then, that really gets like down into the nitty gritty. And then you also have a similar kind of style of when it comes to like, okay, I want to do X, I want to throw this grenade, I want to take this shot, I want to hack the planet. What you typically do for a lot of these is it's a D10 based system. So basically you have it looks like D10s and D6s are kind of your main dice pool. Mm-hmm. And you basically take there'll be a specific stat that these characters will have towards things, and that'll be like reflexes, dexterity. I forget the whole list. There's a good. Let's see if I do the math correctly. There's I think 10 of them, 10 core stats, and so you take that core stat, and then you add in an applicable skill if your character is kind of trained essentially in something, and then you take your D10 roll, and that'll often be going against like some kind of I think it's difficulty value. DV is their term for it, and so you're trying to get that. And so like a simple task will have like a DV of 9 is the number you're trying to hit, and then they have similar kind of things for opposing rolls. So a defender will have their stat and a skill and their D10, so you kind of roll off and kind of compare. And they also do kind of have a little critical and a failure system, which is kind of fun. So if you roll a 10, basically a natural 10, you roll another D10 and you add that to your score. Though this one's kind of interesting. If you roll a natural 1, I believe you roll another D10 and you subtract.
Yeah.
Yeah. Critical successes and critical failures. So
that's ridiculous. I
know it's kind of crazy, but they also have this kind of fascinating luck mechanic, which is before you roll, you can like your character has a pool of luck points, as it were. And based on your luck statistic, and I believe it refreshes like every game session.
Yeah.
I imagine that's kind of up to the players. Like, all right, we took a break, so. But basically, you can like pull from your luck pool to add to your result. And I think I'm trying to see if that. I think you can do it. It is before you roll. Okay.
Yeah. So you have to declare it before. Yeah.
But
yeah. So if you think you're gonna fail, you're like, I better throw some luck into this, or it's something really important. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and there'll be. I think there's some other things that could increase your dice pool a little bit. So, and like weapon damage is where I think a lot of the D6 rolls will come into play. So that'll be like you roll to hit kind of successfully, and then you'll be rolling the damage that you do from there. And so that's like a lot of our RPGs out there. That's kind of where a lot of the focus is on as far as the mechanic goes, and then from there, the narrative and your GM is going to kind of craft the story and those scenarios that make you do those roles and try those things. So at its root, it seems like a fairly straightforward system. It's just kind of a matter of getting things lined up a little bit. And I think I'll throw it over, as far as like stats go and knowing what goes with what. But for that, I think I'll throw it over to Pat, because you were looking at the character creation.
Yeah, I was. Part of any of the new role-playing games that I ever get involved with, making characters is always the best part and the funnest part for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I really read up on the character creation here for Cyberpunk Red. We dabbled with it with the Jumpstart, and in the Jumpstart you only got what's called the Street Rat template, which basically gives you a pre-generated outline, and you roll a d10, which determines which row, and then it gives you a predetermined amount of stats. And there, like we were talking about, there are 10 stats. You got your intelligence, your reflex, your dexterity, your tech, your cool, your will, and your luck, and your empathy. And then there are a couple of derived ones that you would get. And then with the coming of Cyberpunk Red, they've given you 2 new ways of generating a character. One is called the Edge Runner, which is still a template method, like the Street Rat, but now there's some loose areas where you can customize your role. You're still using a pre-generated template to roll your stats, but then you get to it gives you a set of numbers, and then you can assign those attributes to those numbers.
D&D has a similar thing too, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're rolling a predetermined column of random numbers for each stat.
Mm-hmm.
Another common with Street Rat and Edge Runner character generation package is that all your gear and your skills are pre-generated according to a list of whatever role you take. And we were talking about it, and basically the classes are called roles, and there are 10 roles. You have the Rocket Boys, which are any kind of performance art / TV personality. Solos are like your bodyguards, your assassins, your killers, your mercenaries, kind of a thing. Your net runners are your basically what it says, your cybernetic post-net internet hackers. Your techs are your mechanics and your inventors and anyone who deals with any kind of machinery. Your med techs are your healers, doctors, cyber medics, things like that. Then you have your medias, which are kind of like social influencers or reporters, trying to get the story, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, this is another way that they predicted the future, that these influencers would be, because this is right from the original game too, like these medias. That it's like, we're living in a world of these kind of people. Yeah, they're like private news reporters, kind of.
Of course, then you got your execs, the guys who work for the man. You got your lawman, which are basically kind of like your solos, but they actually kind of follow the law.
They're cops.
They also work for the man.
In a sense, but they could be bounty hunters in a sense too, like that, but they still follow the law.
Or they protect neighborhoods, or
Yeah. Then you got your fixers, or basically who are your guys that make the deals, get you jobs,
fast talkers.
Your fences, basically.
Yeah, fence, yeah.
And then the last set of roles is your nomads. These are the guys who transport stuff.
Drivers, yeah.
Yeah, they basically road pirates, Mad Max, kind of think Mad Max kind of in that sense.
Yeah. It's a nice variety, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, and then the third way of creating is the complete package, what they call it. So, basically the GM assigns you a number of points that you assign to your stats, and the point, depending on which level of character your GM wants you to be, those point ranges range from 50 to 80 points. The game recommends 62, which is kind of what they call the regular hero. So you get 62 points to divide that up amongst your stats, with the only restriction being no stat can be lower than 2 and no stat can be higher than 8 at creation.
So you can't just do the old D&D, drop all your low stuff into your charisma.
And something has to be 2, at least 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then skills, there's a wide list of skills. I'm not going to even go into it.
Yeah, there's tons.
The list is huge. But in skills, you get 82 points to put into your character, and this is the more where you get to customize your characters, where you're not following a template anymore. You can kind of make the solo who's more bounty hunter, so you can kind of give him more detective skills than say what.
Are you focusing on a certain weapon, or certain
definitely.
things? This all reminds me of Call of Cthulhu very much. It's very similar to that, where you're assigning. There's tons of lists of skills, and you're assigning points to those skills.
Yes, and the only limitations in the skill is that no skill can be higher than 6. And there's a small list of skills that require you to have at least 2 levels in, and I won't list that either.
Yeah.
And to get your gear, whereas everything is pre-generated in the Street Rat and Edge Runner, in the complete package, you get your gear, you get 25 to 2,550 Euro bucks, which is the money, or EBs, to equip yourself, and then you get an additional 800 after you equip your thing for fashion or fashion wear. One of the things about this 800 extra that you get, if you don't use it all, you lose it.
Yeah.
So, in the Street Rat and Edge Runner, everything is pre-generated for you, but you do also get an extra 500 EBs to buy extra stuff. All right, and then since we're talking about Cyberpunk, there's of course cyberware that kind of replaces your bodies with mechanical parts. And one of the stats that you have is called humanity. That's basically derived from your body and willpower stat. And your humanity basically is the measure of how well you interact with the people in the world around you. And if your humanity drops below 0, you get what's called cyberpsychosis. And so this is basically you're more machine than man at this point.
Yeah, you just go nuts and start killing people, or you pretty much become an NPC at that point.
Trace like homicidal mania and mental disassociation.
I misspoke. Your humanity is determined by your empathy. For every 1 point of empathy you have, you get 10 points of humanity. Body and willpower is your hit points.
Yeah, so it's every time you get a cyberware, it drops your humanity, right?
Yeah, and your empathy and humanity are linked. So for every 10 points of humanity you lose, you're going to lose 1 point of empathy.
Oh, even drops your actual stat too, eh?
That's right, exactly. And then, and one of the main things I'm going to point out about losing humanity with cyberware installation is that there is a thing where you can seek therapy. It takes your character out of the game for a couple of months, but it helps you with the loss of empathy. So you can lose humanity, but still keep your empathy then.
Oh, but it still limits how much cyberware you can have. You couldn't keep doing that to get more cyberware. It just stops you from being unempathetic.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's cool.
So you can never get, but once you hit your humanity hit 0, no matter how much empathy you have, basically what you got to do then is hand your character to the GM because you probably just created the next NPC serial killer.
Yeah. Now your characters have to go stop that guy.
Yeah. And one thing to mention in the book is that there's these great, I don't know what you want to call it, trees that kind of walk through the whole thing. You know, you pick the package you want, and it's like boxes with arrows. You follow,
walks you through it. Yeah,
you go to the next box, gives you, and even gives you page numbers.
Yeah, it's got a fun like background creator for your character that goes through things.
Your life path.
Yeah,
your life path. But
what kind of ed tech are you?
And I will
about your partner.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it gives you a whole backstory that the GM can play with. But I will also say that in the PDF that we have, I assume this is going to be the official PDF. All the page numbers are clickable too. It'll take you to, when you click on it, it automatically goes to where you want to go to, which is awesome.
I did not know that.
I did not either.
Scrolling.
Yeah, no need to scroll. You just click on them. Yeah, it's great. It's all hyperlinked.
Yeah, there. In researching, I like to make my own characters, especially with the new one. So I was messing around with the complete package route, and I couldn't find a good online PDF editable. I couldn't find a character sheet that tasted really good. Well, it always tastes like paper.
I wonder it's because the game's not out yet. Maybe it's because once the game comes out officially, either people will make their own or they might release an official one too.
Well, I mean, that being said, I went to the company's website. They don't even have the latest character sheet up.
No.
Even because you could still use that character sheet for the Jumpstart.
Yeah, but it doesn't have as much stuff on it. But I bet by the time this comes out, because it'll be on release day, that I think they'll have a lot more stuff on their webpage. They're going to update it all. So, well,
I printed the one
hopefully.
out of the book, and I just been kind of using a pen and paper.
What?
Like some kind of savage.
You're a neo-Luddite.
Yeah. That's to write my character out. Oh God.
That's another cool thing about this. Speaking of neo-Luddites, there's tons of gangs, there's tons of corporations, there's a lot of background that's involved, and they will be coming out with more books to detail more of it, but there's a lot of it in here too. And because it is a fully fleshed out world that's been going for, 30 years? Like, it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, I
remember Cyberpunk around the same. I discovered Shadowrun and Cyberpunk at the same time. So if Cyberpunk's been around before Shadowrun, then who knows how much longer.
Yeah, 88 was when this came out. And I looked it up. Shadowrun's 89, so it's a year later Shadowrun came out.
Oh.
So they must have read it, and they're like, hey, we could add magic to this. But, yeah, there's a huge backstory, huge, like Night City, where you actually play the game, or you don't have to, but that's the main setting, is a fully fleshed out world. They have maps of it, and there's, you go on their website, there's an actual website for, Night City that you can go onto that has, it's like you're going to a real city. It's in conjunction with a new video game, too, so it has a lot of the cool background. But it's crazy how much information. Of course, during Cyberpunk Red, a nuke did go off in the middle of the city, so there's parts of it you can't actually go to, but it's pretty in depth. Anything else in the character creation? Anything else to talk about there?
That's it. That's it in a nutshell. I mean, I don't want to give too much away because if you're like me, you kind of like building your own character. So that's basically, if you're looking to start quickly, I can't even remember what it's called. I just talked about it too.
The Street Rat.
The Street Rat is
Yeah.
super fast. But if you want to go super fast, but you kind of want to customize yours a little bit, then the Edge Runner.
The Edge Runner, yeah. I do like that they have kind of here's our template character method, or here's a slightly fast, a little bit more customized, but
especially
still very fast.
It's
what
nice
you want out of it, yeah.
Complete package.
A good hybrid system.
Yeah. That you can get someone started who doesn't want to take a generic character out of the book.
Yeah, some people like that. Some people like the generic characters, but yeah, some people don't want to waste that time making a character. And this system's relatively quick. It's not horrible. It's no riffs or something like that, which takes days to do. But it's also, it's probably, I'd say it's about the same length as doing a D&D character or Call of Cthulhu. Those are the games I know best.
I mean, the longest part is sitting there flipping through the skills. Is what
I'm thinking of your name.
And your style. That's what I say. It's all about the style in this game. It's, it's style over substance. Attitude is everything. Always take it to the edge and break the rules. That's their motto for these. I will mention that the cyberware is a major thing in this game, and it's kind of cool because not everything takes your humanity, because there is fashion wear, which is neat. That you can just rent, you can make up your own, but they also have a description of some of the fashion stuff.
Change color, you get eyes that change color whenever you want it.
Yeah, or watches built into your skin, or, really cool tattoos, obviously, that you can change. But,
I forgot about tattoos.
Then there's neural wear, which enhance your reflexes and mental abilities. Cyber optics, which obviously is your eyes. Cyber audio, which is your hearing and auditory abilities. And then there's the internal body cyberware, which is you can get your organs and stuff removed. And external body wear is skin mods and stuff like that. And then there's cyber limbs, which I know we played the Jumpstart kit for a while. And Pat, all the time, his whole thing is he wanted a gun in his arm. That's all he wanted. So now you can do it. Now you can have gun arms, Pat.
Yes.
And then there's the Borgware, which they call it, which is a lot of the gangs, there's certain gangs that just replace whole parts of their body, their head's not even their own head anymore, and their brain's just encased in chrome. So there's a lot of choices, even if you can go from, a little bit of cyberware, you could actually technically go no cyberware, all the way up to nearly full body replacements. So there's a lot of cool stuff with that. If you're into the futuristic kind of, the cyberpunk feel, if you read any of those cyberpunk books, I did find the book that he based the game off of was called Hardwired by Walter John Williams. And that was the one that came out just around Neuromancer. Neuromancer was pretty much the first cyberpunk book, but so that he based it on that. And actually, the guy who wrote that book was one of his original people who tested the game. So he had it right from the beginning built in with this guy.
That's awesome.
So yeah, so it's pretty cool. Right from the ground up, Mike Pondsmith has been into the cyberpunk for, like I say, 32 years, I think it is. So
yeah,
he's in depth. And if you're into that new video game coming out, this is a great way to play more of it with your friends instead of just, because I think it's just a solo game right now. They haven't done, we'll see when it comes out, but they haven't got multiplayer is in the far future, they kind of implied. So if you want to play some cyberpunk.
Yeah, it reminds me of like when I played the Shadowrun video game. Like it really got me wanting to play the tabletop game. So I can only think that the new Cyberpunk game is going to do a lot of the same. Where the system, like we only had a chance to like give a quick overview of it, but it looks really solid. It doesn't look overly complicated like some other systems can kind of get overwhelmed with like, okay, in this specific scenario, like these are all the things you have to take into account. It's fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
And one section I'm really curious on how well it plays is the hacking stuff, because that's
net running.
It's always been, I think, a tricky part. I remember I went to a convention once, and one of the creators of Shadowrun was speaking there, and he was talking about when they were transitioning from basically to the wireless. This is several years ago now. I think it might have even been like 4th or 5th edition of that game was just coming out. But he was talking about like it had always been the trouble of, all right, then you have your hacking player goes and they do a session with the GM, and the rest of the players are out taking a smoke break or something like that. So, like, all these games, I think, have really taken that into account and recognized, like, that's not really fun for everybody. And my brief look through these rules definitely makes it look like it's still a fairly fast-paced thing. It's not like the whole game grounds to a halt for the net runners to do their stuff. It's still very much keeping with the regular flow of the game, and it's just something that someone else has got. Okay, I'm just achieving these objectives at the same time. Yeah,
instead of shooting your gun, this person's going hacking something, because they're in the environment, so they have to, the other people are trying to protect them while they're doing their job if they're getting attacked at the same time.
Yeah,
so it's just another form of combat. It's not the same combat the other guys are in, but it'd be the same time though. It's simultaneous, which is cool.
Yeah, I think that's a good measure. That's a good way to do it.
And they solved the issue of having to have the guy there a great way. Like, thematically, it wasn't just like, this is the way it works. So, I don't know if there's anything else to say other than, check it out. If you're interested, it does come out November 14th, I think is the release date, which should be the date of this podcast. It was supposed to coincide with the 27/7 release date, but that's been pushed back to at least December at this point. So, unfortunately, their big plans got a little ruined, but at least the role-playing game is still coming out.
Yeah.
And, if they're anything like what they've done before, they put out tons of, supplements, which is great. Because I have the old 2020 rules, and there's, I don't know how many books, there's tons of books for that system, like that, level. So,
and maybe this game can kind of hold you over until that video game comes out.
Yeah.
So, it's a good way to do it.
Yep. And, we gotta thank, Art Talisorian for sending us the copies. It's, copies of the PDF, and, which nowadays, that's all you really need. Although I'm gonna buy the hardback. There's not a question.
Oh yeah, I definitely prefer the hardback.
I do too.
I like it. I have it right in front of me.
I don't know, with the hyperlinking in the actual PDF, that's pretty awesome. You don't have to flip through the book.
Lately I've been kind of, when making characters, I've been keeping a PDF open and the book open, so I can kind of
two different sections at the same time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
The irony of this highly advanced super cyber game, and it's like, we want the hardcover book.
Well, I want it for the collection, but I find that nowadays I don't like reading RPGs in any kind of hardware. I'm always I like it in the PDF form now, just so you can flip through it easy. You can have like 10 in your one tablet. You can have 10 different RPGs sitting right there. It's so much nicer. But I do like the collection. I'm a collector at heart, so I do have to have the hard copy too.
I like the books sometimes. Books don't hurt when you fall asleep while you're reading as much as
And you dropping a tablet in your face? I can't say I haven't done that.
So that's mainly one of the main reasons why I like the books.
Yeah, they still hurt when they fall in your face, but
not like I took a corner in the eye the other day. Put your book down before you're done. Well, I blame Brian Young.
Yeah, were you reading Honor's Gauntlet?
I was.
Yeah. That's another thing with Cyberpunk. There's a lot of cool fiction too. Actually, in this book, there's a couple of short stories that kind of set you up through the different eras of the game, get you where you're going, and give you the feel of the world, which is fun. Including Johnny Silverhands in 2 of them at least, with who Keanu Reeves plays in the video game. So that's kind of cool.
Johnny Silverhands.
So he's a rocker boy. He's classic musician. Causes people to riot. It's pretty fun. That's another thing with the way you.
I looked at the timeline and I just happened to glance at 2020 carbon plague incident.
Yeah. There is that's another thing I should have mentioned at the beginning. It is an alternate history. It starts in 1990, which would have been the future when the original book was made. So it's an alternative history / future. Like it started off different from where we are, but not that different.
The distant future of 1996 with the collapse of the United States.
Yeah.
And the Nomad riots. I remember those.
Good days. Good old days. But yeah, so it's fun times. Check it out. And thanks again. And we'll be back for a real episode soon. We'll be back in December. December? Yes.
Yep, 2 weeks.
Wow, it's already December.
Soon.
Crazy.
I think it's your turn.
I think it is my turn. I gotta think of something. Until then, I've been Rob.
I've been Brian.
And I've been Chopper.
Thank you, and bye-bye.
This has been Mobile Armor Radio. Join our Facebook group by searching for Mobile Armor Radio. Find us on Twitter @MArmorRadio. Find us on iTunes and visit our website, mobilearmorradio.podbean.com. Join us on the 1st of every month for more Mecha discussion.